scene, let's kind of dive into no prep racing. We're over halfway through the no prep King season, right? You've been to a couple final rounds, scored a win, put $40,000 cash in your pocket at South Georgia Motorsports Park. Just give us your overall kind of, what has your introduction to no prep racing, like being a part of the show, being a part of the Discovery Channel production? What's this whole thing been like for you?
First off, can you hear me pretty well?
Yeah, dude, you sound great.
All right, perfect. So I actually just made a post today. I was just sitting here thinking about it. I was working late last night. Everybody knows that I backed away from our company and I take YouTube and social media on full time now. Basically, I'm a full-time drag racer influencer. But when my parents need me to go to work for them, if they don't have the help or whatever, I go back and help them too. So today's kind of my off day because I worked all last night with my dad. But I made a post today and I was sitting here thinking about it. If I would have never, back in 2018, I watched the MPK race. They ran for $200,000 at Bristol. Well, when I watched that race, that's what got me to even know about No Prep Kings. I kind of knew some of the drivers, Kai Kelly, Daddy Dave. They came over and ran some Radial stuff. I come from a Radial background. But when I watched that race, that's what turned everything around for what I wanted to do with my program. I feel like if I would have never seen that race, I probably don't know where I would be at today or if I would be in the situation I am in now with everything going on with my program, for my YouTube channel and all that. So I thank myself every day, and I made that post too. I thank myself every day for watching that video for when they were running for the $200,000 at Bristol. Fast forward, because like I said, that was three years ago. We went ahead and put a car together for 2019 No Prep Kings. I had to talk my dad into it. We came from a Radial background, so he didn't want nothing to do with wheelie bars and tires, big tires. I had never been on a slick before. I had never ran in a Pro Mod class, did none of that. I had only been on Radial versus the World, Pro 275, grudge racing, but we were still on Radials. So I finally, after months and months and months of talking, begging him, getting everything going, I told him, I said, man, I think this is going to be huge. I don't know if we're going to be invited into the deal. I said, but let's go give it a shot. Let's go see what happens. Talking with Daddy Dave, talking with Kai Kelly, they were able to put in some good words for us, and they have helped me to be successful today, just like there's a lot of other people as well. But we put a car together, Carnage. It was 2012. I had a lot of cars, so I apologize. But I had 2012 Camaro, 5th gen deal. We put a car together, went over to run No Prep Kings. I didn't know who Sam was at the time. He is the producer. He's the head honcho. He's the head person in charge.
Sam Corcus, right?
Yes, he's a great guy. I've became pretty good friends with him over the years.
And he's like the head honcho at Pilgrim Studios and has basically been the mastermind behind this whole Street Outlaws movement and the No Prep Kings movement. Just for anybody watching that's not super tuned into this stuff, I wanted to make sure they knew who you were talking about.
And that's the good thing about it. That's why I tell people all the time. Paige, she's intern for y'all this year, I believe.
Oh yeah, Paige Coughlin. Yeah.
So she came out to a race and she's like, who's Sam? And I said, if you do not know who he is, you will not be able to pick him out of the crowd. And that's the best thing about it, because he's not there to be part of the fame, do all that. He puts on a show. He puts on a great race. He's the head person in charge. Everybody listens to him, and it seems to do very well. The ratings are out of this world, from the racers to the fan base and everything. But I finally showed him, and all I did was just point him out in the stands, because he was literally up there in the stands with the fans. So, like, if you don't know who he is, you will not be able to tell.
How much do you think that perspective and that willingness to go sit in those seats? Because I'm not trying to call anybody out, but I wonder when the last time someone from, they're everybody's favorite bad guy, the NHRA, has went and sat in the stands. You know what I mean? And really took in some racing.
I tell people all the time, the racers are not what keeps these tracks open. It's the fans. Without the fans, we would not be able to race. Yes, you get certain amount of, take No Prep Kings. There's only 40 of us that come there to race. You got the future class, you got that. But just say hypothetically, there's 70 cars on the property, 80 at the most. They can't keep the tracks open. the fan base is what keeps it open. And I'm very big, and people have noticed it too, on interacting with the fans. So I love it when other people interact with the fans too. So to see him actually interacting with the fans and being out there, that speaks volume in my book. So that's the good thing about it. I don't think a lot of other people do that. And I'm not saying they have to do that, but you can just tell that he respects what he's built, and he's okay with having everybody on board helping him to be able to keep growing this thing.
Because it feels like one of the things that I've seen from afar, and I'm going to bring Mike in on this as well, because he was actually at the No Prep Kings event in Darlington, South Carolina. And I'm curious if you guys could, provide me a little perspective on, it feels like Sam or whoever's involved, who all the decision makers are within the No Prep Kings world, they're really like invested in the success of their individual stars. It feels like there's a couple different ways to go about this stuff. There's the thought process that transcendent stars can elevate your sport. Like the best examples, I think, is probably the NBA. I don't believe the NBA would be what the NBA is without Larry Bird and Magic Johnson, without Michael Jordan, without Kobe Bryant, without LeBron James. And I think those are, the NBA recognized early on that they needed to get out of these people's way. Instead of, trying to rein them in and make it about the NBA. I say this all the time. You don't go to an NBA game and see people wearing NBA hats, NBA shirts, NBA jackets. No, they're wearing a LeBron jersey, a Steph Curry jersey. They're invested in some specific player. That doesn't totally exist, especially like on the NHRA side. I mean, you go to those races and a lot of the stuff you see and a lot of the stuff you see for sale is NHRA merch, sure. NHRA hats, NHRA flags, NHRA shirts and jackets. And I think that goes way, way, way back to, God rest his soul, one of the most impactful people, the most impactful person, I would say, in the history of drag racing, Wally Parks. There are many stories and a lot of accounts of him having a real firm belief that he didn't want any one racer, any one driver to become bigger than the NHRA. That was something that he said aloud, and he clashed with people like Big Daddy Don Garlitz, Shirley Cha-Cha Muldowney, because they recognized that their fan following and their ability to kind of like venture into pop culture would help the sport, right? But they were fought and they met resistance at every turn. I'm curious, can you guys speak, Mike's intimately involved with Pat Musey Racing Engines, helps them out there a lot, is involved with Lizzie's team. She's obviously a big star in the no prep scene. And yourself, we hear you talking on social about all the shirts you sell and all the merch and all the fans. I mean, do you feel that? Do you feel embraced, like they are behind you, like the organizations behind you?
100%. I mean, one thing that I'll take it to the end. And one thing Sam has told me, and I think that's like you just talked about the NBA. He's the final say so, but he allows you to do what you want, and he will tell you. The good thing about him is he's straightforward all the time. If he feels you're messing up or you're doing something wrong, he's definitely going to let you know. He's not going to let it slide. Nothing gets slid around. But like the NBA, they let LeBron James, Steph Curry, they let him do whatever they want. Well, Sam's got the same thing. He's got Big Chief. He's got Ryan Martin, Daddy Dave. He's got characters that allows this thing to be able to keep going through. Like with NHRA, I speak with it all the time. I mean, nothing against them, and I love racing, but who do you got? Fucking John Force and what? Top Fuel is who's the guy that always wins? Capco?
Torrance.
Steve.
Yeah, Steve.
Yeah, like I'm gonna be honest with you, I can't name fucking 3 people in NHRA other than Stevie Jackson, John Force, and Torrance.
Well, that goes back to like what you're saying, Wes. When the NHRA was founded, I think it was more of just like, let's get these cars a safe place to race, and it was more about the sport itself. I don't think they even, I mean, Wally Parks is not here to defend himself, but he may have not envisioned this deal becoming a cast of characters and all these stars. And I think the approach that No Prep Kings takes, like we talked about a couple of weeks ago, is a modern approach to it. It allows these stars to shine, and they know that a high tide lifts all boats, and that the more popular Justin Swanstrom is, the more popular Ryan Martin or Lizzie Musey become, the more popular their property becomes, the more popular the series on Discovery becomes, the merch, the video game licensing, all the stuff becomes more valuable. So you've got to, in today's times, even these sports leagues have struggled, especially the NFL, to let these guys shine. The NFL is much more about making it about the league, and it has been much slower to progress than the NBA, which probably in the Michael Jordan era took the cuffs off and let these guys have endorsement deals, be their own character, have tattoos, get their own shoes, wear, whatever, so that they could stand out and be unique. And I think, and going to the deal in Darlington, I mean, I knew what I was walking into, but that's what the fans want to see. That's what they're there to see. They want to see that show. So again, we're back to the debate of what's the way to go? A show, an exhibition, or a point series, or a national touring series. So there's just two different disciplines to it, in my opinion. And I think that it's good to have both of them.
For sure. And now what I don't want people to get misinformed is, even though it's still a show, it's not that it's fake. Like, nothing's staged.
It's not fake. No one's saying it's fake.
Nobody comes up to you and says, hey, you need to say this, or hey, I want you to do this. Like, everything is natural. It's just the people that he has picked to be there just so happily to be natural. It's
an exhibition. It's more like the match racing of the 60s, 70s, and 80s that funny car drivers did and stuff, where it's certainly not fake. These guys are out to slit each other's throats. But they're also, hey, man, do a big burnout, take a long time to stage, wave at the crowd, sell shirts, interact with people. That part of it is encouraging.
It's all about the fans, but they run a very tight ship too. Like I tell people all the time, if you've never been to an NPK event, you need to go. I believe in I'm not tooting my own horn just because I run the event, but it's part of the best racing I've ever been a part of. And Wes knows I've been in a lot of stuff. I've been in big races I've ran a grudge race for $100,000. There's not too many people out there that has ran one pass for $100,000. I was nervous as hell, but we won the race. And I ran RBW, I ran everything. They run a tight ship. You're on time. It doesn't matter. You get a text message, say you got to be in the lanes at 6:10. You will be going down the track at 6:14. If you're not in the burnout box at your time, they don't give a fuck who you are. You will go back to your trailer. It doesn't matter. They will run without you. So that's the good thing about it. And Sam is very big on organization and everything. There's a lot of people you see out there. They say there's too many chiefs and not enough Indians. There's only one chief over there. He's the only one that's going ahead and driving the boat, and everybody else, what he told me. Everybody else,
I think that may be, like, I didn't really anticipate this conversation going that direction, but that is a little bit of a hidden gem or a cheat code in itself, because I see that a lot. Like, in my opinion, one of the quickest ways to screw something up is to get a whole lot of people working on it, right? Or develop a committee. Like, if you want to kill something, get 17 different opinions involved. And I'm not saying that you can't have a successful committee or a successful, board or whatever, but by and large, the buck has to stop with someone. There has to be one person that's leading the charge. And I'm curious, were you surprised by that? Because when you roll up in there at a No Prep Kings event, I got to tell you, I think the outside perception is that it's a zoo and these people aren't professional race promoters. They've never done this before. Were you surprised by that buttoned up nature of an NPK production?
I was surprised on how organized it is. Like I said, from time to having the help to be able to get there. They help you with everything, and like me and like Sam, I could call him right now. I could text him, whatever. He'll answer immediately. He's already sent me text. Anything I need help with. Jen is underneath Sam. She's like the second one in charge. She's like the female of NPK. You don't mess with her. She's awesome. Yeah. So you don't mess with her.
We're getting some inside baseball here. This is great.
I might get in trouble for this. I don't know, but it is. I speak my mind. But that's a good thing about NPK is a lot of them out there, they speak their mind. And it's more about, one thing I've learned about social media and YouTube is people want to be able to relate to you. If they can relate to you, and I think that's why NPK does so good. And even when they first started out, yes, the cars are a lot faster now. They're changed. You got steel roofs, steel quarters, but you still have to keep them safe. But when Street Outlaws first started, it started on the street. It was regular cars, S10, Camaros. It was relatable. Even like my car, even though it's still classified as a pro mod and all that, my car is based off of OEM body. If you see my car, you can see it on the highway. You're not going to see Torrance's top fuel dragster driving down fucking I-75. You're not going to see Stevie Jackson's pro mod driving down I-75. So that's the good thing about it, is being relatable. People are allowed to look at it, and it gives them in their mind, they can say, I could possibly own something like that, or I could possibly drive something like that. So that's the good thing about it. I think that's where they got the upper hand. And
I think it looks I mean, and obviously we know, those of us that are, students in the game, we know how crazy expensive this stuff is. And I know that you've got a race car that is state of the art. You know what I mean? This is a high level double frame rail, full tilt boogie, Proline powered Pro Mod. But to your point, I think that people watch this show and go to these events, and specifically with Street Outlaws as well, the original show, this stuff looks like something that I could maybe have. I think people see that either in passing or once they've really dived into it. Man, you can kind of get yourself pumped up that, like, you know what? I could have a car like Chuck one of these days, right? I mean, I got so-and-so's got a Fox body Mustang that's back halved. And I think it fuels the aspirational aspect of this sport, which is so important. Like, we don't talk about that much, but like, little kids can go buy a pair of Air Jordans because they aspire to be Michael Jordan, right? They can go buy a pair of cleats or buy a football and throw it around and aspire to be the next Patrick Mahomes in the NFL.
Somebody they can look up to.
Yeah, but in drag racing, I think that at the highest levels, when you look at Top Fuel, Funny Car, Pro Stock, Pro Mod, that stuff just looks so far gone that, like, I'm not even going to think about it, right? There's no point in me tinkering. There's no point in me buying a hot rod or buying a project, because I'll never be able to do that. But when I think race fans see cars like yours and people like this that look regular, I heard this, is this true or not? I was told that you guys are often instructed, like, hey, don't be down here in freaking crew jerseys. Don't be down in the starting line with sublimated, all matching everything. Look like street racers. Look like regular people. And I think that is a little bit of a secret part of this recipe as well, is that you guys look like a bunch of badass street racers meeting up in a parking lot.
Yeah, I tell my fan base is just a bunch of degenerates, so we're good there.
I've seen some of your Facebook stories, and Instagram stories.
They're good about it. I have never been personally told about not wearing something or whatever.
Right.
You're allowed to do whatever you want. We have just recently started. We start every first round of the race wearing my merch, and then every round after that, we wear our sponsors as far as we go. So
That's
and then
cool.
Whenever we're done there, we go to the next race. We start out first round wearing mine, and then we go ahead just so we can shine some light on them too, because they help me get to where I am and help with the car and do all that. So we're allowed to do whatever we want, but there is some stuff that that gets blurred out on TV. This will be my first time actually being on TV, so I'm not 100% sure what'll get blurred out on my car. You're not told. You're not doing that. But to go back to talking about the factory deal, Mike actually did the wrap on the car whenever it was up there, and he'll tell you, I was sending him text messages. I was getting my ass chewed out for not having a front grille and headlights on the car because it did not look factory. Now, when we get done with this season, we've already talked about it. We're taking the car back over to Cameron's. I am taking the front end off, and I will have OEM grille and front headlights built into the car just so it looks more factory. Right now, it's just stickers. Hate to burst everybody's bubble because everybody thinks I have headlights on the car. I do not. But
that's what we want.
Do what now?
That means it looks good. That's what we want, man.
So I was telling them I needed to get them on the car. Like, it came down to the wire. Like, hey, either
I thought
you're not going on the track. Like, it was like that. So
he was stressing. He had me stressed big time. We got it done.
All about the factory look.
Yeah, it's got a sunroof too, man. Point to the sunroof, man.
Yeah, it's got a sunroof as well.
So
did you do like the outline of it, or what'd you do?
Yeah. We wrapped it in black, so it looks like a sunroof.
They did an awesome job.
But no, but to the point though, I actually am in favor of that. I'm glad they're making you do that. I mean, as much as you probably hate to hear that, because that's what I'm scared of with this deal, is that they're going to pro mod it to where everybody's going to basically have a steel roof and quarters pro mod. Everybody's building a new car. Everybody's chasing the latest thing. They need to keep that deal with a variety of cars, and they need to keep them as street and as stock looking as possible.
And that's why I did a Lexus, because I was going to build a 6th gen Camaro like Ryan Martin's, and it was going to be a 2019 or 2020 Camaro. It was going to have the same power plant, and I even spoke with Sam beforehand. I said, man, do you think this is a good idea? And it is, but it would have looked just like Ryan's other than a different.
Right. So we don't need a bunch of Ryan Martin Camaros out there. It's a good looking car, but we would need variety.
Yeah. I wanted to do something different. So it was either going to be like a Chevy too, but then I was like, all right, that's Daddy Dave. You got a Camaro. I had already knew Lizzie was coming out with a Camaro. You can't do a 3rd gen. I think they're ugly as shit. Kai's got one. So I was like running out of options. So my Cameron, my chassis builder, he's like, man, why don't we just do an import? And I'm like, okay, there's nobody that has built one other than E-Canoe.
Right.
They built that one for Ferris and all them. And I heard that went out of the country, so it's not even around here. So I was like, well, forget it. Let's build a Lexus. So that's how that whole deal went down. And I think it's helped me because it's something different, something people can see, one, relate with, and it's not the same car every time. Like Pro Stock. I used to love Pro Stock back in the day when it had the scoops and the snorkel and everything. Now everything just looks the same. If you go to your pits, I mean, everybody's got the motors all covered up. You can't see the intake. They run fucking 656 with a 6, 656 with a 7. Like, there's just no excitement to it. Like, everybody does the same thing. There's nothing different going on. So, like, when me and my dad, we went to the Gator Nationals for the first time, and shout out to Capco and them. They got us out there. Everything was good. Who's the guy that I can't remember his name now? Is it Palmer?
Yeah, Scott Palmer.
Yeah, he's with Alex now. And I love that. I love that for Alex. A lot of people think that me and Alex have like a rivalry deal. We just talk shit on the internet. I tell everybody, please don't take what I say to heart. I'm over here laughing when I make my post, so y'all need to be laughing too. But him hooking up with Scott, I think, was phenomenal, and it worked out better for him. But Scott helped us at Gator Nationals. But like I told me and my dad, we went up, we watched the first round. After watching the first dragster go down the track, it was like, all right, now we done seen everything. Everything just looks the same from there. There's just no.
It's tough, man, because as hard as it is to like hear that, I don't know that I have a tremendous argument for it. I mean, Mike, do you know what? There's not an argument. I mean,
and that's why we're talking about. That's why we're talking about staging duels today. I mean, it takes this variety.
I made a post on that on Facebook. I feel like that was stupid on NHRA's part. I mean, no disrespect to them or whatever, but
hard to argue.
I feel like the fans were so excited about it, and you basically just told the fans to get the hell out. Because
I felt like they were.
I heard a lot of people say the fans booed, but if you listen in when they're interviewing Bruno,
the fans booed whenever they decided to back the cars.
Yeah, the fans booed the DQ because you can watch like the people are on their feet. Like if you've seen one of these deals unfold, a real staging duel, I don't know that there's anything really more exciting than those moments where there's two badass cars with two talented people behind the wheel, and there's this tension there. I mean, it brings that prize fight element to it. It reminds everybody that as much as everybody wants to talk about racing their race and running their lane, like if we had $1 for every time we had a racer tell us that, we'd be bazillionaires, right? Everybody wants to talk about, I don't care what goes on over there. All I'm worried about, BS. That's not true. That's not true.
That's what I was saying on Facebook. It's like Conor McGregor when he fought Floyd Mayweather. That's like listening to all the shit they talk to be able to get up to the fight. And when they stepped in the ring, it's like the referee saying, hey, go ahead and get out. We're just going to go home.
Yeah, right. It's getting a little late, guys. I think everybody's had too much to drink. Let's shut this thing down.
And again, no disrespect to them. I don't know who the two drivers were, but wasn't one of them like the number one qualifier or something?
No, it was 8-9.
8-9, okay. But still, I mean,
so I heard it was number one, so I was like,
I think there would have been a real, because that's the other part of this, and we talked about this at the beginning of the show, but I don't know what the point implications of that whole situation really will be for those two drivers. Neither one of them, I believe, are really full-time NHRA Pro Stock competitors. But if that were Dallas Glenn, who's in the thick of things, who's about to join us here on the Wes Buck Show in the next few minutes, or if it was, Erica Enders or Troy Coughlin Jr., there'd have been some real problems. If my stuff's getting backed out of the beams, I mean, I think there's some people that would have, burnt the tower down there at Heartland Park.